made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, ChiroThin, Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, Local Gold, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Accident Records, Chiro Tax Pro, and Full Script. Let's hustle!
Hey guys, welcome to episode 153 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Eric Plasker, and we touch on current topics and why we need to be interested in the most vulnerable and get solutions for that group. So I guess the first thing we are going to ask you is what's changed for you since the last time we've got together?
Wow, that's a great question, and it's always an honor to be with you. I always appreciate the work that you do. I love when non-chiropractors are on a mission that is aligned with this mission. I think that as chiropractors, we take our people for granted. We should never take our people for granted. In fact, if you ask me, well, Dr. Plasker, what's changed? Here's the answer. You ready? The world has changed. And we're laughing about it now, but it's true and it's not funny and it's a meaningful time. And I've been in practice 35 years and I love chiropractic more today than I ever have. I believe in the work that we're doing more than ever. We have not just 35 years in practice, but 20 years serving chiropractors in the profession through our company, The Family Practice, this mission of lifetime care for everyone. And we have been through, since 35 years of practice, we've been through probably 6 or 7 recessions. We've been through SARS outbreaks, flu outbreaks, H1N1. We've been through Obamacare and the crash of the health insurance industry and changing over from regular insurance to HMOs. And we've been very fortunate in my whole career, and it's because I have had such great mentors, Dr. Ernie Landy, Spring Valley, New York, Dr. Williams at Life University, so many other people, Alex Cox from the Gonstead Clinic. And so I have very strong chiropractic roots. And what is universally true as I travel around the country and around the world, when I'll ask chiropractors, so do you get adjusted? And everybody raises their hand. They look at me like I'm crazy asking that ridiculous question. And then I say, well, do you get adjusted at least once a year? And everybody laughs. And then I'll say once every 6 months, once every 3 months, once a month, any once a weekers, you overutilizers. And that's kind of how the rap goes. But the point being is because I've spoken all over the world, many world tours, it is universally true that that's one thing that almost all of us, 95% of us, have in common. Yet we don't do that for our patients. We play games with what we're doing and trying to sell what we're doing to make it relevant. And we have always felt like if it's good enough for us, it's good enough for them. And now because of how the world has changed, it is more important than ever that we wake up to the reality. And here's the bottom line of it all about the purpose, is that lifetime patients equal votes. We have committed our entire career. My entire career has been dedicated to creating as many lifetime patients as possible. It's why I wrote the 100-Year Lifestyle. It's why I branded a brand for the people instead of just for the chiropractors, because we have no common voice in the world. If you ask every chiropractor to give their best elevator speech, it sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook, blah, 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 because we're all doing our version of it. And then we'll semanticize it where we argue about the word that we changed because our word is better than your word. And I just got tired of all that. So we created this thing that is basically caught fire. And it's never been more important to have a common voice in the world. Even though we have a lot of uniquenesses, there are things that we can agree on, that people are better with chiropractic care throughout their lifetime. And we call it 100% for 100 years. And if Jim, this is really important because I know how much you love the profession, that if every chiropractor over the last 35 years, if another 1/3 of their inactive files were still under chiropractic care today, we would win every vote that was necessary to change the world. But we haven't done that. We've been trying to survive. We've been trying to make a living. And we have always been committed to changing that game. So, the world has changed. We're getting a wake-up call, and it's finest hour time as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I appreciate you letting everybody know what you've been up to and what you've dedicated your life's work to and how you've been making an impact globally and making standards. Because I think a lot of times when I talk to chiropractors, um, I see a different approach that each one has like their guru, how he's like, yeah, I've Ernie Landy, Sid Williams, but everybody out there has like their like core two or three, like, respectable leaders that they've like kind of learned from, which is really good. I mean, we all have coaches and we all come from somewhat of a background of like, if that guy was like the technique guy, that's who you learn from. There's a lot of people out there that are learning from CBP and leaning on that research. And there's a lot of people out there that are, Gonstead, and like they couldn't go to another office and learn how to run another office because they only do Gonstead style adjusting, and that's become popular and it works. And I just think it's really cool that the 100-year lifestyle is something that you created and made an impact. And now you have so many people that now they're going to say, I look up to Plasker. And that guy was a huge part of my development.
Well, I mean, that's kind, and I'm humbled that you would say that. And while I do appreciate that with all of my heart, I will tell you that if that's all they said, then I would have failed. Because the reality of it is, this is much bigger than me. This is much bigger than you. And we have people like you mentioned, Todd Muncie, and you mentioned Rick Kirkpatrick, and we have a lot of other people under our umbrella that do this work. And they practice, their educational model is similar, but they are different techniques. They're different people. They're unique in their own way. One of the things that I want to transcend and what we have committed to transcending past was the personality, transcending past the technique, transcending past the town, so that we have a common voice in the world. So while Rick in his place grows while he lives his life, and Todd in his place grows and he lives his life, and they do different techniques and they say things a little bit differently, and they probably always will, that we have a voice in the world that is branding in people's mind a new paradigm that includes chiropractors at the core and chiropractic care, lifetime chiropractic care at the core. And so we have people with every coaching company that use the 100-year lifestyle. We have people that go to every seminar. We have people that have graduated from every college and all this kind of stuff, because it's bigger than all of that. And so what is important, and I have seen this, and I believe this to be true completely, that our diversity is our greatest strength when it comes to technique. I have asked this question, and I can't even tell you how many chiropractic offices. I'll say, okay, or seminars. And I'll say, okay, raise your hand, chiropractors, if you've ever had a patient or a practice member that did not get results with another chiropractor and then came to you and got results. Raise your hand if that's ever happened to you. What percentage of the room do you think raises their hand?
All of them.
100%. And then I'll say, okay, now turn around, look around the room, and you thought you were the only one. And that happens. It's true for all of us. So if that is true, and we understand that we all have unique styles and people need different things. I mean, my wife, there are times that she needs specific upper cervical work that I don't do. I mean, I've been married for 31 years, almost 32 years. I've been adjusting my wife for 33 years. She's had chiropractic care for a few years before that, before I met her. And you know what? There are times that she needs something different than I do. And I don't believe, we've heard chiropractors say all the time, it should be chiropractic first, drugs second, surgery last. And I completely disagree with that. I completely disagree with that. I think it should be chiropractic first, chiropractic second, different technique if necessary, chiropractic third, different technique if necessary, chiropractic fourth with drugs when necessary, chiropractic fifth with surgery when necessary. And if we live, and is how most of us live our lives, because what we realize that it's not about our technique necessarily, while we all should be fantastic at our technique, whatever we choose. But it's bigger than that. It's about how do we view the world? How do we look at health and vitality? Does health really come from within? Does it really, do we have an innate intelligence? Can it be interfered with? When it is interfered with, we have to remove that interference for our body to express health the way that it's capable of. And so we understand that, and I think this is a big part of how we need to mature and grow up as a profession, because we have to get over the fact that if a patient doesn't respond or a practice member doesn't respond to what we're doing, that instead of referring them to necessarily an orthopedist or an MD or something like that, and that may be necessary, and if so, that you should, but also to be willing to refer people to another chiropractor if they do a different style or a different technique. If we really believe in the principles that we stand for, that becomes a very important consideration and how for us as an industry to grow.
I admire you for the positioning with chiropractic 1st through 5th. I really do believe that when people are like actually at that point where they're taking some type of an outside-in approach, getting adjusted is going to let them get through that faster. If somebody does have to have some type of a medical procedure, they do get through it quicker and heal faster with proper mobility and function of their spine, which I think is amazing. And a lot of people get through some type of health challenge and they might need extremity work. If you switch your gait all of a sudden because you're guarding and you're walking differently, now what's happening is your kinetic chain is completely off. So I think that what you said is there's a lot of merit to that. And when people do have some type of an entrenched injury or some type of a health concern going on, like if there was a chiropractor walking around every, surgical ward and just doing upper cervical adjustments on people would be like, wow, I healed, I got better like 10 times quicker. That's awesome. Thanks. Thank you for putting chiropractor into the surgical ward.
Absolutely. And so we need to, I think, live that way and function that way. And especially now with what's going on with this COVID-19 insanity that is happening. And certainly I'm a very compassionate man for the people that have contracted it and have passed. There's way more people that have just coronaviruses in their body that are not getting sick, or they're getting through it very quickly. And, we created a campaign. What we hear all the time now is that you have to be concerned mostly about the most vulnerable people, because the most vulnerable people are vulnerable to not just coronavirus, they're vulnerable to everything. And these people that are afraid of the coronavirus, for example, or COVID-19, they should be afraid of everything, because the reality of it is that fear lowers the immune system. We did a lot of research. We created a free campaign basically for the profession. You can go to the 100-Year Lifestyle Facebook page and share a lot of those posts. And but what we realized is that the COVID-19, or this most vulnerable people that are affected by this virus, are vulnerable to everything. So how do we get people to start becoming less vulnerable and becoming the least vulnerable people, instead of being worried all the time because their lifestyle is a most vulnerable type of lifestyle? And there are so many things that people can do. And when you realize how many things affect the immune system, things like positive attitude or negative attitude does affect the immune system. There's research that shows that people, even with a family history, for example, of heart disease, if they have a positive attitude, they're like 30%, I'm going to quote the numbers wrong, I don't have it in front of me, but it's some astronomical number, like 30% less likely to have a heart attack or die from heart disease within a certain amount of time compared to somebody with a negative attitude. And you can go on and on looking at different things. And we know that posture can affect the immune system. We know that people with poor posture have a negative immune function compared to people with good posture. And so there are so many things that we can do to educate people. And the challenge of our society, Jim, and you know this because you're on the front lines, you're checking people all the time with what you do, helping chiropractors get new patients. We are forever in great gratitude to you for the work that you do, helping chiropractors become more fearless going out in the world, talking to people. And you realize that we have a sick and suffering world. We have a world that is, I remember, this is crazy. I remember I was coming home from somewhere. I was speaking somewhere, and I'm coming up the escalator at the Atlanta airport, and there's this massive sign as I'm coming up the escalator of one of the Williams sisters, the tennis, I think it was Venus Williams, and she says, on the sign, it says, I'm one of 54 million people that has rheumatoid arthritis. So go to rheumatoidwhatever.com. And I'm thinking to myself, most of the world is looking at this saying something like, oh, that's so nice that she's doing that to help the rheumatoid arthritic people. And I am compassionate to those people. And I have that feeling, but I also have another feeling that kind of was more significant. Like, how the hell do we put up with a system that has created 54 million people out of 300 million people with rheumatoid arthritis? And we think that's normal. And we watch drug commercials and we don't even hear the side effects anymore because we have just so accepted a normal that is sick and suffering. And so it made me crazy. It made me mad. And I remember I gave a talk at a local high school here. They invited me to speak at a special event, which we love getting into the schools. We are always engaged in things on the ground in our community. And so are our affiliates, like Dr. Muncie, who you mentioned. He's on TV today in his town in Bristol, Virginia, talking about becoming a least vulnerable person, this campaign that we created, like a lot of doctors can utilize. I hope they'll go check it out. And what really struck me is after I gave my speech, there were about 150 kids it's a big school, that were going to receive this award. And they asked me if I would go to the edge of the stage and just shake hands with everybody, all the kids, and congratulate them on their accomplishment. So what struck me, and when I think about this, it motivates me. It makes me feel like I'm just not doing enough, like I really have to do more. How many kids that walked up on that stage that were neurologically damaged? And you could tell they were neurologically damaged in the way they hold their lips, their face, their eyes, their posture, their gait, how they shook hands, tics and tremors, how many kids with tics and tremors. And I'm thinking to myself, this is our country. This is our future. And here we are. We have made it normal and acceptable and even systematic to create a country that is filled with neurologically damaged children, while at the same time, a country that is filled with neurologically damaged seniors, keeping the middle class strong enough, not just middle class in income, but middle class of age, the sandwich generation, strong enough and dependent enough to have to succumb to the system. And I just think that's wrong. I think when I look at our family and other families that are chiropractic families who are functioning at very high levels in all those generations, I say, we got to do more.
Well, let's just use me for an example. When I got into chiropractic, I didn't know what chiropractic was. So I think there's a lot of people out there that they would definitely line up and bring their families into the chiropractor if they knew that it wasn't just about car crashes and neck pain and back pain. And if they knew that it was about developmental, if they knew it was about saving, their kids from having these neurological defects. I think that if we just did a better job of integrating chiropractic at that level of having that billboard saying, have you had your children checked by a chiropractor today, run by the Chiropractic Foundation, or whatever we want to call it, the Chiro Hustle initiative. I think that a lot of people would line up and they would all go to the chiropractor, but chiropractic has been some subset of specialty that's only for people with this, musculoskeletal defect. And I think that if people knew how good chiropractic actually worked for, making babies, conceiving, and if they knew how good it was for anything other than a damn headache, and if they knew it was for anything other than, a sciatica, those things are helped. But like you said, that billboard has to say for vitality and health and longevity. And if we think about it at that type of tone, now we're going to get some people just like you nodding their head and saying, damn it, I'm going to get my family in and get them checked.
Interesting. We just had a family who about 3 weeks ago came in for care, committed to care. They had not been to a chiropractor before. They actually had what they considered and called a bad experience with a chiropractor. They didn't understand what it was, and they have this perception in their mind about what chiropractic is. And the reality of it is that it's almost impossible to change people's minds unless you give them a fresh new way to look at what we're doing. So they came in and they wrote a check for over $5,000 for the whole family in like literally a visit. And what they said is that, this is completely different than what I thought chiropractic was, because what we did not do, which is counterintuitive, we did not say chiropractic's not this, chiropractic is this, chiropractic's not this, chiropractic is this. That was not the conversation at all. The conversation is we already make the assumption that we are chiropractors. Our name is Plasker Family and Performance Chiropractic. It's in our name. So because it's in our name, I don't have to use the word. It's not like, oh, the best chiropractors are the ones that use chiropractic in a sentence 87 times. No, that would be like to the public, to the world. That's like a dentist using the word dentistry, 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 or even worse, a proctologist using the word proctology, 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 proctology. And the challenge that I find is that we have people that are marketing chiropractic to the public, but really their customer is the chiropractor. So they don't transform the marketing to the public because the chiropractor wants to see how many times you use chiropractic in a sentence to ensure that it's chiropractic enough. When the reality of it is that when you look at a drug ad, they're not saying pharmacology, 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 pharmacology. They're saying healthy kids. They're saying healthy families. They're branding it in a way, and the drug may be positioned on the bottom, or they may say it once in the sentence, but they're not overkilling it and overselling it. So what I think is important, I remember seeing a billboard outside of our office. For a while, I was showing it at every seminar that I was teaching at. And it was for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And the headline was, dedicated to healthy, long lives, Children's Healthcare. Well, they went from one clinic to like 150 clinics in the Southeast without saying vaccination. We're going to vaccinate, 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 vaccinate. They didn't say that. It wasn't on the sign. Do you follow me? They didn't say, we're going to give you drugs. We're going to give them drugs. It wasn't on the sign. It was a marketing message and a branded message that could get people to see the value of the care and the services beyond even the service, because it was speaking to core values of people. I believe that that's what we have done that is different than everything. And the challenge that we have is getting chiropractors to understand that in a world where, you think about this, in the world where the brands are on the outside of these medical facilities like Children's Healthcare of Atlanta and the doctors' names are on the inside, we are in an age of branding where the best brands will win and a common voice will win. And so the way that we created this model is that we're not a franchise. We don't want to own you. We don't want a percentage of your income or growth or any of that stuff. Basically, what we do is we'll co-brand with you. We'll partner with you in this way, and we'll provide the resources that you're going to use anyway, like a website that is world-class that creates new patients, like patient education that is world-class, like marketing that is world-class, like staff training and procedural systems that are world-class. And you don't have to use, you could use one thing or you could use all of it. It doesn't matter to us. Understanding that what's more important than all of that for the future of our profession is to have a common voice that is aligned with how we are living our own life, utilizing chiropractic in that way.
So before we move on to the next question, I just want to interject for a quick moment. So you're currently running a campaign for becoming the least vulnerable person.
Yes.
If someone were interested in learning more about that, where can they find that?
Two ways. They can go to either 100 Year Lifestyle Facebook page, which is our fan page, and all those posts will be there and they could share from there. Or if you want, and that's free. Or if you want to, we have a segment of this campaign where you can co-brand with us and put your logo on it also. So just like when you see, you'll see like with sporting events, you'll see FIFA and the car company, or Major League Baseball and the TV company and the computer company. So they're together. They're working together. What a concept, right? What a concept. They don't own each other. They work together. And so in working together, we've set up a portion of this campaign where if you wanted to, we will give you this campaign in full. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, stories, all of that formatted perfectly for you. All you have to do is put your logo on it. And we even give you the captions, like what are you going to say with each post? You copy it and just paste it in where it says comments. You just put it in there. It's 100% done for you. You just have to put your logo on it. And it's for $195. We will give you that in that format, and we'll make a donation to the City Williams Research Foundation at Life University. They're doing amazing quality of life research now that I think is fantastic. In fact, we have a study that's about to be published that we did on lifetime care, the benefits of lifetime chiropractic care. That should come out hopefully within the next 4 to 5 months. I saw the preview of the beautiful 7-page color printout of it. It's fantastic. And that's just the first pilot. We haven't even gotten to the second one yet, which should be done within a few weeks. And then that'll be published too, a little bit down the road. So that's a format that you can have literally instantly for $195. And for that, you go to 100ylproviders.com. So that's 100 Year Lifestyle, 100ylproviders.com. And then you just click on store and you'll see it'll come up as one of the options, and it's $195. And then if you were lazy and you didn't even want to put your own logo on it, if you sent us your logo, we would add your logo for $75 additional for each platform. And really, honestly, we are just covering our costs. We probably have, when you see the quality of the resources, and you're going to see it start to roll out in different places as you're ready, as more and more people are working together with a common voice in this way. And you'll start to see it rolling out. So we can roll it out that way for you. It costs a lot to put it together. We're not necessarily looking to recoup all of our costs. It's probably in the 10,000 plus range that we invested in it. We are going to donate that money back to research because it's just one of those times, it's finest hour time. So we just dug in, hunkered down, and we're putting it out there.
That sounds pretty exciting. I hope anyone listening to this episode will take advantage of that. And now, earlier today, you did an interview with Dell Bigtree, right?
Yes.
How did that go? Can you maybe discuss some of the topics that you guys touched on earlier?
Absolutely. So Dell Bigtree is, we've shared the platform in many places, Life Vision, we've done Atlanta, we've done Montreal, and I got to know him. I interviewed him once before, actually, a few years ago, right after Vax came out. And what I really appreciate about Dell is that he is, when he says he's an investigative reporter, he's not kidding. I mean, this guy goes through the numbers in detail. And I would not want to ever get into it. I would never get into an argument with him about facts and figures because this guy breaks them down and knows them fantastically. And he, on his Highwire show last week, actually, he revealed, he was actually the first before Fox News broke it, that the numbers and the model that was being used by Neil Ferguson were 2,400% over-exaggerated. 2,400% over-exaggerated, and it's why we shut down the country. And he revealed these numbers on the Highwire. The other mainstream media still to this day, I do not think have reported that. They're keeping the fear-mongering going. And so he revealed it. And so I wanted to talk about that because I think it's important for people to know that you can calm down. This is going to be like a flu season. We don't know how bad it's going to get, but it's not going to be 2,400% higher than what a normal flu season is. So they changed all these statistics. So why is that important? My wife just texted me something. She's about a woman that she was in an assisted living center, and she's freaking out because she can't go out, she can't go anywhere, she can't go to her exercise classes, and because of the stress that's been created from the news and all this stuff, she had a heart attack, and she's on life support. And so there are people dying or getting sick and injured from the stress, from the negativity, from the polypharmacy that is out there. This is all, by the way, in the least vulnerable person campaign. There's a video. You can go to 100yearlifestyle.com. You could watch the video. You'll see some of the information. There's an article that you can share on 100yearlifestyle.com. And we know that these are things that kill people and that injure people and make people sick and suffering. So we talked about that. And it's an important part of the discussion, because the other thing that just came out, which I think is a very important statistic, and chiropractors understand this, because we're wondering, why are the statistics, the deaths, all of a sudden skyrocketing? Are you ready? This is going to blow your mind. You should get this out quickly, or just at least until this is published. Tell them to go watch this interview with Dell. They all of a sudden came out with a COVID-19 ICD code.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Chiro Chiro Moguls, Mahalo Wellness, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, Local Gold, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiropractic Rocks, Winner's Edge, Accident Records, Chiro Tax Pro, and Full Script. Let's hustle.
So up until last week, they did not have an ICD code, a diagnosis code for COVID-19. So nothing was being coded as COVID-19. Well, all of a sudden they came out with a code and they said, okay, this is the new code where if somebody has COVID-19, or if you even think somebody might have it and they died from it, then we are recommending that you put it as the primary cause of death, even if they had what is called comorbidity statistics. So in other words, comorbidity would be if somebody had heart disease, or if somebody had, and they died of a heart attack, and they also had COVID-19. Well, they're saying, well, if there's a confusion or you're not really sure, just make it COVID-19. So they're driving up the statistics, and the hospitals are doing it because if they have the highest numbers, they get the most ventilators. Do you follow me? The governors, if they have big numbers in their state of these people that are dying of COVID-19, then they can make an appeal for more of that $2 trillion or more of support that goes to their state. But if they don't have those statistics, then they're not going to get the money, because the distribution is going to be made based on perceived need. So they're encouraging, and I love what Dell does. We talked about it in this interview that is up right now. So people can go to 100 Year Lifestyle fan page and watch it right now. It's also on our YouTube channel. It'll be there actually tonight as a premiere on our YouTube channel. And so when you realize that this is what's going on, then you say, okay, what's really in play here? And you start to ask some different questions. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to get people to understand these numbers, so that like our patients and our practice members and the people that we're serving, the community that we serve, so they'll stop panicking, because we know the effect that panic has on the nervous system, on the immune system. We know that chronic stress can lower the immune system. We know that chiropractic care can help correct posture. We know it can help. We don't treat the immune system directly. I know that's, but maybe indirectly, because we're alleviating stress, we're correcting posture, and maybe, who knows, maybe there will be specific research, maybe there is now, and I'm just not quoting it at this current moment. And I will tell you that our people need to be, our patients, for example, are very thankful that we have become a essential provider. And so we wanted to get the word out about all of these things. And I'll share something else interesting that popped into my spirit the other day while I was doing all this work. We've been working hard on a lot of these things. Could you tell?
Yes.
Yeah. And here's something very interesting for the history buffs in the crowd. You ready? When I graduated in 1987, I graduated in 85, opened my practice in 86. In 1987, there was a historic moment in that year for the chiropractic profession. Do you know what it was? The Wilkes case was settled in 1987, which was filed, I think it was 11 years earlier. Chester Wilk and George McAndrews filed this lawsuit against the AMA for antitrust and collusion against the chiropractic industry that created a stigma as they tried to strategically eliminate the chiropractic profession. Well, that was in 1987. So that was 33 years ago that this case was settled, over 40 years ago that the case was filed, and then it went to appeal and appeal and appeal until we finally won. The thing is the stigma of all of that in the older generations, some of it passed on to the younger generations, has stuck for a lot of people. Yet here we are now as an industry. And we went 33 years later, we went from being the black sheep of the medical world, right, to standing on our own 2 feet, winning that lawsuit. And then now, 33 years later, being labeled by the Department of Homeland Security as essential service providers. And we act like we have had no victories, that we should still kill each other, that we should still beat each other up, and that the other side never has any value. Well, the reality of it is we are here today because of the totality of the strain and the push and the pull. And if we can understand the strides that we've taken and elevate our consciousness to a new place of leadership in a world that has changed, the impact that we can have on our communities is phenomenal, especially going back to how we started this conversation when you asked me what's changed. The world has changed. So it's an amazing opportunity for us to mature, to grow up, to think differently without compromising our principles or changing our principles, but to appreciate the diversity while also moving forward without compromising principles.
So that actually leads us into our next question. You just touched on something impactful from the last 30 to 40 years. What would you say has been the biggest win for chiropractic in the last 10 years?
Wow. It's a great question. I think being labeled right now, honestly, I mean, there could be a lot of them. There's been a lot of research that's come out showing that chiropractic affects the brain, that movement of the spine affects the brain. I think that's phenomenal research. It's not everything, but it certainly is massive quantum leap. We just actually talked about that. In fact, if you go to 100yearlifestyle.com and you subscribe to our newsletter, we will give you a free ebook on neuroscience. I did a podcast interview with Dr. Stephanie Sullivan, because she's a chiropractor and she's a PhD in neuroscience. She's one of the smartest people I know. She's a beautiful person. She's a researcher. She runs that department over there at Life University. And so I interviewed her and we transcribed the interview. Certainly you could listen to the audio, but if you download it and print it out, you can hand it out to your patients. It's a great patient handout. It's free. We're not looking for anything. We want to give it to you so you can get the information out there. So without question, how chiropractic impacts the brain. I do believe that being named at this moment in history as an essential service provider, maybe it's too soon to call that a really big victory, but I got news for you. Dentists are closed and lots of other industries are closed, and we're open because we have been perceived as an essential healthcare provider. I believe that will save so many lives out in the world and save so many practices that, yeah, they'll take a hit, but they won't be gone. And so these are things that we can build on. And I believe that the research that we are doing and sponsoring that is related to the benefits of lifetime care and the preliminary study that we did, that we supported at Life, is, I think the preliminary results, something like this, and don't quote me exactly on it, but something like this, that people under lifetime chiropractic care or long-term chiropractic care did not decline with age compared to other people, the rest of the population that were not under regular care. I think that's huge. The second study that we did, so that was the pilot. The second study, we're still tabulating that data. But what's I think is valuable about that is after the first study, after the pilot, we knew what questions to ask. We had much better questions. So we focused the questions for the second study. We had like 3 times as many respondents. I think it's either like right around 400 respondents. And I can't wait to see that information because I think it's valuable. So as we move forward, if we understand these strides that we have made and we stop walking on eggshells about being chiropractors, being fearful, worried about being accepted, you've been accepted. You've been accepted. And what a shallow goal and desire, acceptance. If we stand for something like this, especially these types of truths, the world will respond to our leadership. And so that's why I think that what's happening right now is going to demand more from us. And if we approach it in the same way that we've approached it in the past, it will probably set us back. We need to come from this place of self-acceptance and self-trust and learn to work together for the good of the whole and communities. And I believe that our finest hour is now and in this next phase of the game for our profession.
So you've got me thinking a lot, because I've done an interview recently with a guy named Ethan Danberg, and he was asked, we almost interviewed for 2 hours, and it was just him mano-a-mano with me, and he was asking me a lot of depth questions. And one of the responses that I initially had in my mind was, well, how you said that we're looking at like numbers and how exaggerated the numbers are. Well, here's the real number is if you look at scoreboard, there's winners and losers, like any game that's ever played. And I hate to make this sound like the health world right now is a game, but basically what they're doing is they're putting gamification into the box god, which is the television that people are worshiping on a day-to-day basis. And people are looking at this box god for the answers. And the box god tells them that there's a calculated number that's rising of deaths. Well, if we look at it, the scoreboard, if we will, that they are losing. The people that are entrusting the care department for keeping people alive are dramatically failing. And I don't know, because I haven't scoured the earth for cases in chiropractic offices, but if there was one, we'd sure as hell know about it.
Yeah, no question about it. And, it's interesting that you talked about the gamification of this. One of my favorite new books that I'm not sure if you read it. Everybody knows Simon Sinek's work, Start With Why. And then I forget the second book. I've read all of his books, but the most recent one, which I absolutely love, and it's so applicable to what's going on right now. And he put words to it. I'm going to tell you the title in just a second. He put words to what I was feeling, because I don't know why. I am blessed with purpose. I don't know. It's because my son was injured and paralyzed as a kid from a fall, and now he's a practicing chiropractor today, and or because of my injury, and now I'm a chiropractor. I don't know why. It's just a blessing that I wake up with purpose every day. But sometimes I feel down. Sometimes I feel defeated. But the next day I seem to wake up with purpose. And here's what Simon Sinek says in his book, which I love the title. He calls it The Infinite Game. The Infinite Game. And he talks about the difference between finite games and infinite games. And the finite game is, okay, who won this game, this football game, this basketball game, this COVID-19 game, or whatever. That's finite in history. And in a finite game, he says there's a winner and loser. But in an infinite game, it's ahead or behind. It's not winning or losing. It's ahead or behind because the game keeps going. It's an infinite game. Well, the game that we're in, and I hate to call it a game because I don't want to trivialize it, but in the context of this discussion, we are in an infinite game, and we are either ahead or we are either behind. And I remember times in my career when I've been way ahead. There are times when I've been a little ahead. There are times when I've been behind. There's times when I've been way behind. But the game keeps going as long as you don't quit. And watch what he says about the infinite game is that people do. They drop out, they quit, but there's always new players that enter the game. And what we have to understand as an industry, if we get a victory, it's not time to rest. It's time to then take that victory and apply what we've learned through that victory, compare it to how the world has changed from a leadership perspective. Think about what are the needs of my community and the world in this new world. Because the game keeps going, because there's always a new mom with a new family or a second child or a third child. There's always somebody that maybe they would never have looked at you today or yesterday, but now their mom got sick or their dad got diagnosed with something, or maybe somebody died of somebody got in an accident or something happened that got them to see you or what you're doing differently. So that's why we need to keep showing up and make ourselves better every day serving a purpose that's bigger than ourselves, understanding that we are playing an infinite game in a world that is in desperate need of healthcare leadership. A great example is Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, that was passed and argued about for years and years. Then it was passed, and then it never got implemented. And here we are in this new game. So just because it was passed doesn't mean it was game over. It's an infinite game that keeps on going. That's the game we need to win for our children and grandchildren.
The game changes too, and that's something I think that is going to be really valuable for us to discuss as this interview continues. One of the things that you probably know the historical resonance is when insurance was kicked in and chiropractors accepted that. Do you know what era that was?
Yeah, I was in practice. I never kind of got on that train, though. I always was a lifetime care guy. So I've never had a heavy insurance-based practice. My practices were always more cash-based with people, lifetime patients. That's just what I grew up on and grew up in. And so, but I do understand the impact of that. And that goes back to the coding thing that we talked about a little bit earlier. And so, yeah, so that was a part of the game, which doesn't exist anymore, does it?
Well, what happened is I came into the game 11 years ago. And when I came into the game, I had zero idea of any of this. I was just a regular guy that went to work, that, you know, had relationships with his friends and his family. And I had zero idea of any of this. But as I became more entrenched in the chiropractic lifestyle and the chiropractic profession, I started to realize that there were some real battlegrounds and there were some real trade-offs. And when the chiropractors wanted to be on the even playing field with the medical world, now what they had to do is they had to basically sell out some of their positioning with ethics. Will they call themselves chiropractor of medicine? Will they code out for medical billing reimbursements? Will they go and pass state boards in order to be called a doctor of chiropractic rather than just a chiropractor? So as I went down this rabbit hole and I started thinking about all these things, we've been playing this massive game for acceptance. Once again, something you said today, and isn't that kind of shallow? Well, the game has transitioned because now the people that are funding this crap we see on the box God, which is the television, are now courting the other side that's become medical modeled, which are now doctors of physical therapy that are now stealing the chiropractic sacred trust and going out there and serving with it. So that to me is how the game has been flipped, and how now today, as us being seen as essential, we need to go out there and earn it, and we need to go out there and lead it, and we need to go out there and wave the flag of winning and saying, hey, we're going to keep our offices open because we are essential, and we are going to set the standard now for not only the new revolution of the way that people are going to have, as I said on the interview, Netflix back and Amazon Prime Belly and Text Deck. These people are all going to want to come in numbers now with their families. I think the most important thing right now for chiropractors right now is to tell everybody that's at home, bring your family to the chiropractor, make it a family outing, and let's get everybody checked.
I'm with you, man. That's really what I was just going to say. You just took the words right out of my mouth. Our primary battle, I've said this for the last 7, 8 years, 10 years, speaking around the country, the primary battle for our generation is utilization by the people. We have got to get to the people. And we've got to do it with a sense of urgency, because the more people that we can get to, like 100-Year Lifestyle, that's why we started writing, why I started writing all the content for 100yearlifestyle.com. I mean, we're this new website, we just put it up as a free online magazine so people can share the content. And we're over on target for over 2.5 million page views in just the middle of our second year. And it's booming. People are sharing it. We're really excited about it. The challenge that I think that we have as a profession, if we don't have a common voice or place that we can share from, and we don't, then our message gets lost. And what happens is we share, every chiropractor I know is sharing some form of lifestyle type information. The problem is that 95% of those places, this is huge what I'm about to say, 95% of those places would never, ever, ever, ever in a million years refer anybody to a chiropractor, ever. So we are referring people to resources that will take people away from us rather than taking people to places that will support us. And so we have changed our model to support what we're talking about. So I don't care if you do all of what we do to be affiliated with the 100-Year Lifestyle. You could be listed there for a very low fee. If you are aligned with our beliefs, you can go there, and for $145 a month, you could be listed. Your practice could be listed on 100yearlifestyle.com. So for less than the cost of one new patient a year, you share all the content and you're listed there. So if people search for somebody in your town, you show up. And so, and we provide websites. It's another option. And so I think we have the best true chiropractic websites. A lot of the companies that supply chiropractors do not have chiropractic friendly content written by chiropractors. They're content written by other people that want to have you be the backache doctor or the neck pain doctor, which, yeah, certainly we take care of that, but this comes from a bigger vision type of perspective. So we do that for less than the cost of what most people that have websites will charge for a website. People say, Plasker, how do you offer all the things that you offer? And then you could be all in for as little as $4.99 a month. That includes everything. And so they say, how do you offer it at that price? And the answer is simple. Well, we've never wavered from our vision in 35 years. And so we just keep adding resources and technologies without having to change the price. And we're playing an infinite game. We're never going away. We're never changing the mission. So we can do it and we can offer it. And so we do. And so I think it's important that people understand that. Be careful where you refer people to. A lot of these places would never in a million years, like, I'll give you an example, like the Blue Zones, which is similar to a 100-Year Lifestyle. It's the Blue Zones, only they were bought out by drug companies. So if doctors send people to the Blue Zones for longevity and wellness type information, you're referring people ultimately to the drug companies without even realizing.
Well, you're saying things that are necessary for people to hear. And one of the main components, what you're saying, is stockpiling good, relevant content and delivering it to where it can be disseminated easily and digested is just as easy. The problem is what we're going up against going forward is censorship. And Mercola took a hit. The algorithms within the Google searches are like downplaying like natural healers. So censorship is something that's big. And even if you like start like an ad agency right now and you put out there that you help support anything from weight loss to chiropractic, they're going to say these groups talk about vaccines and these groups talk about things that might not have research behind them. So even when we have this idea of freedom of press, freedom of speech, right to bear arms, these things that our country was founded upon are now being encroached upon and slowly, little by little, infringed upon and taken away from us. And the reason I wanted to go back to one of the notes I wrote down here is the reason that chiropractic was never valued and never very valuable to the people that are making policy and the people that were writing their names on signatures and pushing bills through was because chiropractic makes people healthy and it makes people feel better. And it doesn't cost more money. It costs a simple, fair amount from a month-to-month, week-to-week basis, and there's no glut in it. You pay for a service rendered to you, your body performs better, you stay out of the other sick care model. And that's the part where the other boys were like, no, we're not going to support you guys because there's no money in chiropractic, so let's rub them out. Let's make them non-existent because we want everybody to be sick and distorted and not functioning because that's where the money is. The money's in the cancer. The money's in all these, like the diabetes. The money's in hypertension. The money's in the vaccines. The money's in all this shit.
Yeah.
But there's no money in healthcare. And that's why chiropractors need now to take this opportunity and become that voice in that position because people are going to demand to feel better. They're going to demand to have healthier families. They're going to demand that they're not getting injected by stuff that they don't know what's in it. And they're going to say, who is my answer? The chiropractor.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And that's why I say it's finest hour time for us. And censorship doesn't scare me, quite honestly. I believe that we are a revolutionary people at our core. And the more you try to do that, the biggest mistake that they're making is to try to censor what we're doing. Because we are a revolutionary people. We will not stop. We have had some censorship. We have those tags on 100-Year Lifestyle. Our traffic has gone up. because more and more people are realizing, you know what, I need to support the resources that are valuable. And, you know, if word of mouth gets stronger, it's the most trusted thing anyway. So we found that our numbers, especially web visits, have gone up. We're really excited about that. People are teaching the 100-year lifestyle. Professors are teaching it in colleges and high schools and junior high schools. So, I mean, we just keep seeing it. So it's like, bring it on. Bring it on. So, you know, and I'm proud of our people for not wavering and not quitting. Sure, if you need some support, call Jim, call me. I'll be there for you. You know, people can't understand how I answer the phone. And it's just that it's just what we do. It's just what we live to do.
Well, you know, I'm pretty fired up today, if you can't tell, just because of some of the things that are happening right now, and being able to talk to you that's so well established as a communicator. That's the beautiful thing about Hustle, is what we've been able to do is we've been able to share your story, and we've been able to share people's stories by the hundreds and probably going into the thousands now. We've just been able to share the practitioner's story. And when I met Dr. John DeMartini, he once told me that chiropractic needed more media leverage. And that's why I never look at what we do in this arena as a competition. I want more people to learn how to do podcasting. I want more people to host you on their show. I want more people to interview me. I want people to start talking about things that are meaningful and transformational and that unclog what people are paying attention to. We just need to one of the famous things I've been like seeing in like different like parts of the world is like drain the swamps. Is we just need to like drain the swamp and allow people to actually like find out what's good for them and make good decisions based on their core ethics and core values.
Yeah.
I think chiropractic fits right in alignment with all that stuff. One of the things I wanted to kind of ask you, though, I know that this is all current, like where we're at today, but when does this blow over? When do we go back to like, you know, every chiropractor now should probably be, in my opinion, every chiropractor now should be planning for 5 weeks out, like to start campaigns, to get new patients, to do reactivations. What do you think about that whole, you know, concept of how to do marketing right now? When should chiropractors that have seen drops in numbers start to reintroduce marketing strategies? And what do you think is going to work for all chiropractors?
Well, so I think that's a great question, an important question. And if you wait 5 weeks to start, you've waited 5 weeks too long. The tracks need to be laid now. And yes, every chiro needs to be hustling right now, pun intended. And so I love what you're doing and getting your message out there to people. We hustled to get this Become a Least Vulnerable Person campaign. One of the words or the group of words that you hear a lot in the media, we have to protect the most vulnerable people. These people that are the most vulnerable, we have to protect them. Yes, I understand that. Of course, we want to protect and support those people, and we need to create a world that is filled with least vulnerable people. So we have taken the wording and we have created, I believe that is the marketing. That is the marketing that we are committed to because it's relevant. When the world changes, if your marketing stays the same, that's a problem. And what I think people understand is you could change your marketing and not change your principle. Just because you change your marketing doesn't mean you've changed your principle. We haven't compromised our principle. It's all about, you know, we say 100% for 100 years, from babies, kids, families, everybody in between. We want everybody we want you to raise a least vulnerable family. We don't want anybody in your family to be more vulnerable than they ever need to be. So how do you do that? And it's not just chiropractic care. There's a lot of things that are related to that are lifestyle oriented. And then how does what we do as a chiropractor fit in as a central part of that? Well, neurology comes first. You need a healthy nervous system. You need to have reduced stress. You need good posture. And so we're excited about the opportunity of that. We are doing it in a way that is backed up by research. It is supportive. We're not treating any conditions or diseases or even the immune system. We are working with people to remove stress in their body. We're working with people to correct subluxations, to align the spine, to align their posture. We know through research that people with poor posture suffer. Their immune system goes down. Their breathing gets less. Their heart rate can be affected. Their chemistry can change. So we know all of those things. So if we focus on the things that we know that what are the benefits of the care that we provide, That's where the marketing needs to live. It needs to live in the benefits without promising things that we don't do, without over-promising, but making what we do and the benefits of what we do relevant for every man, woman, and child.
Well, this pretty much wraps up this episode of Chiro Hustle with you, Dr. Eric. I want to thank you for being our guest again. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to ask you?
Probably the only thing is, and I think I did say it, is I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. So much of what we do, I know people love you guys. They love the work that you're doing. You're making a difference. You need to keep it up. You need to keep hustling. And I know I don't need to tell you that you're the Chiro Hustle people, but don't ever think that your work doesn't matter. It matters a lot. So I'm just grateful that people like you are out there doing what you do, and we got to learn to work together, appreciate each other, and together we can accomplish so much more. So listen, it's finest hour time. So let's go get them, everybody.
Well, thank you for being our guest today, and we certainly appreciate you and the kind words that you shared about us, and we will keep on charging forward. And thank you for this episode.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, Dr. Eric. I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
See you soon. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.